Hey everybody, we're back with another Acceptable Casualties Battle Report. Today we have our Operation Blockbuster campaign. We're going to be doing the Battle of Rees on the bridge crossing over the Rhine. So we'll be back in a second for 2nd Canadian taking on Volksgrenadiers. So this is my 600 point 2nd Canadian Infantry Division list. Down here I have a forward HQ. I have 2 platoons of infantry. The support options going through are going to be a medic, a Vickers machine gun, a 6-pounder, a 3-inch mortar, another Vickers machine gun, and another 6-pounder. Each of the command teams down here, they have a Piat thrown in there as well. Over here, I ended up bringing a unit of 2 25-pounders, a sniper with a spotter, a M10 Achilles, and then from specialists, I ended up bringing a group of engineers with demo charges, flamethrower, and then the half track. So altogether, it's about 550 points. I said it's a 600 point list. If you guys want to know how that actually works out, just go back to the campaign overview video that was posted like 2 weeks ago. We'll be back in a second to go over Vin's list. I believe the battle rating points I have for this one is like 41 or 42 points. So we'll be back in a second to go over Volksgrenadier. So here we have Vin's, is it a 500 point list, right? Your 500, yeah. So your 500 points of Volksgrenadiers, it's like it's like an artillery division is pretty much what it's kind of based around. So Vin has a forward HQ, which is where, right here, Vin?
Yeah, forward HQ.
Forward HQ, and then down here you have an artillery spotter, a wire team, and is it a comms team? Or a
wire team and
a forward signals with half tracks attached to them. Down here, Vin has a Pack 40. He has a 105 on table arty. He has the mobile flak. Vin also has a Panzer IV supply wagon. There's a unit here of inexperienced Volksgrenadier with the command. Do you have any like Faust or anything with these guys? No Faust. These guys are bare bones. For the mission, Vin gets a medium machine gun bunker, he gets a minefield, and then he also has a 10-foot section of trenches. And then for Vin's extra 50 points for defenders is what we're given for the list in this. Vin opted to take, there's 2 off-table flak 88s.
Yep.
You have was it a booby trap?
Booby trap building and a timed demolition.
And a timed demolition. So yeah, that's Vin's list altogether. Vin's battle rating for this one is 21, so I double his points. So you boys better dig in, Vin, and fight the good fight. This one could be over pretty quick. So yeah, we'll be back in a second to kind of go over deployment and how the mission's going to play out. Okay, we are back for deployment. The mission that we rolled up for this scenario for the bridge at Rees crossing over to the Rhine was high ground. So Vin has his hill set up over here with the medium machine gun bunker that's tucked in right there. That has to be the first objective over there. There's 2 more objectives that go with it. Another one here, as you can see, it's the bridge going into the town, and then the little crossroads here in the middle of the village. So those are the 3 objectives. Vin also forgot to mention in his list, he has 2 105s for off-table artillery in the list. For Vin's trenches, we're just using the shrubbery right here to kind of give, because I don't have a good trench set for this. So Vin ended up putting his 1 trench line set up along the river right here in his deployment zone. So for Vin's deployment, like I said, he has, what is it, a rifle platoon, a machine gun platoon, and then a command team.
Yeah.
All in that little trench line right there. Vin has a sniper and another machine gun team in this corner building. He has his artillery observer in that back corner over there. Over here he has the machine gun, medium machine gun bunker. This is your, is that your command?
Forward HQ. Forward HQ.
Forward HQ. Then
forward
down
signals.
here, forward signals. Back here is the on-table 105. If we come back over here, I'll show you what Vin has left off-table. He has the supply truck. He has the remnants of that that Volksgrenadier platoon with the wire team. There's also that flak coming in, and then the radio trucks and communication stuff, the command half tracks, they're all off table right now as well. For me, I have my medium mortar, I have 1 rifle squad over here, I have that 6-pounder, it's kind of shooting down the middle of the table over there. My forward HQ is over here to kind of get good line of sight going up that bridge and then onto that side of the table. Back here I have the 2 25-pounders, my sniper, my engineers in the half track. I have my Vickers, combat medic, another rifle squad, and then I got the platoon command team for that first platoon. Off table for me, I have that full second platoon with an extra rifle squad from the first platoon, the command team for that second platoon, a 2-inch mortar, the 2-inch mortar from the first platoon, a Vickers 6-pounder, and a M10 Achilles. All those come in automatically on turn 4. Vin's reserves come in bottom of turn 4 on a D6. That's how many units he gets per turn. So this is kind of what we're looking at right here for deployment, and the mission, like I said, is going to be high ground. Vin controls all the objectives to start the game, so Vin has technically 75 points in his pocket, so every objective that he loses throughout the game, he'll have to take a shit, and 25 points will go my way. And like I said, if you want to see how that works out, just watch that introduction video to the campaign. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 1. Nobody's pulling a shit for Recce because we both have 1 unit each. So we'll be back in a flash. Brits, well, Canadians actually, top turn 1. So we are back for top of turn 1 for the Canadians. A pretty decent turn for us over here. So on this side of the table, I just moved the the rifle team up to that fence line over here. The mortar team, I failed my comms test with my that platoon command team that was placed over there. The 6-pounder here, I fired some HE into this corner store up here. I was actually able to get 1 hit in there with the HE rounds, but then I failed for the HE going off. I needed like a 6 to get the shot into the building, which passed, and then I failed on my 3 to wound rolls. Up over here, kind of just pushed up the sniper, pushed up the Vickers, pushed up the medic, and the other rifle squad all along here, kind of taking cover in the hills and behind that building. And then the engineers I pushed up behind the forest over there to keep them out of line. Down here, this is the big play for us, the commander was actually able to pass this comms test. I dropped my bombardment down here on the road because I could see from that angle, and ended up scattering it right here. I ended up getting a direct hit and 3 pin opportunities. I was able to pin and get 1 kill up here on the machine gun team. I was able to pin the other machine gun team in ambush that's in the building and kill one of those guys as well. And then Vin ended up passing his save for, no, he failed his save for a sniper.
Yeah.
And then, but he had a spotter with him, so he's in there down to 1 guy, but they're not pinned. They ended up passing their morale. So the 25 pounders, they already did a pretty decent amount of damage here turn 1. We'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 1 for the Volksgrenadiers. Let's see if Vin can answer the call. We'll be back in a flash. So we are back here for the bottom of turn 1. I was on the other side of the table. I mean, it's really difficult. So for Vin's turn,
editing.
Vin didn't do too much. He ended up putting the 2 other rifle teams, the rifle team and the command team over here. They're also in ambush. He didn't take any chits to take these guys out of ambush. Vin tried down here to drop the bombardment from that 105 in the corner over there. It scattered to here, but I ended up making my save to keep these guys unpinned. Then Vin dropped his two 105 down here with the observation from his command team up on the top of the hill, and that scattered to right over here. Vin had some really good dice. He was able to pin my Vickers. He pinned my rifle team. I failed both saves for that. And then there's a direct hit on the medic over there, and he just got absolutely shredded. And we played, so the medic died. We played the medic since it's only a 1-man team. We play if he dies, you don't pull a shit for it. It's just he's just taken off the table. So the medic's dead. They're pinned on that side. That kind of slowed down a little bit over there. And that's really all that happened this turn. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 2 for the Brits. Or Canadians. I'm going to keep saying Brits this whole game, but it's Canadians. So we'll be back in a flash. We are back for the top of turn 2. Pretty decent turn for us. I ended up getting 10 orders on this turn. Like I said, things went pretty good. So we ended up starting off the turn with, we took the rifle platoon that was down here and we just started to push them up through the fields here to make a push for the back of those hills over there. The 6-pounder here, once again, I just tried to keep plucking away at that building, that corner store over there, but no dice on that. I ended up biffing on all of those. Then I started dropping some mortar bombardments. So down here with That 3-inch mortar, I got a successful comms test off down here at the crossroads, but it only ended up being 2 pinning tests against the sniper machine gun teams, which were already pinned, so it didn't really make a difference over there. And then this was the big one. This was huge. So down here, I used 2 25-pounders. I dropped my spot in the same spot before. I ended up rolling wild, so it was a 4d6 scatter. It ended up scattering 15 inches back and landed right there next to the Pack 40 that was an ambush and Vin's spotter. The damage rolls, I'm sorry, not damage rolls. I ended up getting a pin test back there, but Vin passed. Vin also passed his cover save for the pinning check down here for the Pack 40. But I got 1 direct hit. It was enough to pull a wound, and then Vin rolled a 1 for his morale, so they ended up abandoning the gun. So that's all that happened down there for that. So that was pretty huge. I kind of lucked out on that scatter over there. And then I pushed up over here with one of my last active orders. I ended up pushing up that half track just a little bit. I did a disembark for my engineers in there, just kind of sat them still. And then for the end of my turn, I decided to pull a shit and unpin because I had the Vickers pinned, that rifle squad was pinned, and then I had my sniper pinned in here because Vin booby-trapped the building, blew up, killed one of my spotters, and then pinned the unit. So I had 3 pinned units over here. I decided to pull a shit. I ended up pulling German ammo low because this is the Fall of the Reich book. So Vin's 105 down here is down to 1 shot, so I kind of, had a horseshoe up my ass for that one. That was pretty huge. And then I rolled a 6 to unpin all my units. So pretty good turn here for the Canadians on top of turn 2. Starting to get a decent little foothold on the middle of the table and getting some units pinned and off for the Germans. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 2 for the Volksgrenadier. We are back for bottom of turn 2, and things just keep getting better for the Canadians. So on this turn, Vin ended up rolling up 4 orders. He ended up using his reroll for his senior officer that got him, I think, a couple more orders out of it. He got like 2 or 3. Vin opted to start off with a bombardment down here that ended up scattering down to this point right here. This is for the off-table artillery. Vin rolled pretty good. He was able to pin that rifle team again. The Vickers, as you can see, is not there. He was able to pin them, and then he ended up getting a direct hit as well, which was enough to pretty much shred those guys. I think he had like 5 hits on the direct hit. I only saved 3 of them, which killed 2 guys, but I also failed my cover save with the pinning check with a 1, so it was enough to wipe them out. I had to pull a chit, and I ended up pulling the low ammo off-table artillery, and I rolled a 6 on the table, so Vin's 2 105s are out of ammo and they broke, and then Vin had to pull a chit because of it. So my draws at the beginning of this game have been absolutely huge. Vin didn't have anybody really to activate for the rest of the turn, so what he ended up doing was just pulling these guys. He pulled another chit and unpinned these guys over here. So pretty lucky couple turns here for the Canadians. Like I said, I've lost the Vickers and the medic, but I really haven't paid the price as far as battle rating goes. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 3 for the Canadians as we continue our push up the table. So we are back for the top of turn 3 for the Canadians, and we kind of just keep pushing along on this one. So we ended up getting, I think it was 10 orders again. It was roughly enough to get everybody activated. So the rifle squad that was previously back over here, we pushed them up to behind this hill. They're kind of just pushing up along over on that edge over there. The 6-pounder, once again, we fired into those windows up there and tried to pin to no effect. With the 3-inch mortar, we ended up failing our comms test. We tried to drop a bombardment down here. It didn't work out. But our 25-pounders did end up ranging with the comms test. So we ended up dropping it here. We ended up rolling a 6 for the scatter. So it was only 1d6. I ended up moving it back over here. I ended up getting a bunch of pin opportunities. And what ended up happening was Vin rolled a 1 on his save for the machine gun team that was in the 2nd floor over here, which caused another guy to die. They were pinned, so they were down to 1 man, so they ended up breaking, so Vin had to pull a chit for that. And over here, Vin also got pinned from that 25-pounder already, and then he was okay with everybody else. So that happened over there. Then with my sniper up here in the window, I was able to observe, and I was able to kill one of the guys on the team over here. Vin ended up rolling, I think, a 1 or a 2 for his motivation. There's only 1 guy left in that team, so they were pinned, so they ended up breaking as well. So Vin ended up losing the team, had to pull a chit for that. Up over here, I ended up pulling at the end of my turn. I ended up pulling a chit, and then I unpinned these guys over here for next turn. I opted to kind of stay still with the engineers in the woods right now. Kind of wait till I get a little bit more support up the table, and then I can actually start doing something. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 3 for the Volksgrenadiers. Vin just needs to hold on for 2 more turns, man, and get those reserves in. So we'll be back in a flash, see what happens. We are back for the bottom of turn 3 for the Volksgrenadiers with Vin's last fire from artillery. It was a decent one. So Vin ended up dropping his arty down here. He passed the comms test. He only got the 1d6 for the scatter, which moved up to about right here, rolled 2 inches. It was only a pin, but I rolled a 1 for my cover save, so they're pinned, and I'm down to 2 men for my senior team, my senior officer team, which was kind of unfortunate. For the rest of Vin's turn, he put these guys in ambush here just in case, because there's really nothing else for them to do. That's the forward signals unit. The rifle command team that was down here from the rifle platoon, they ended up falling back, and then the sniper that was in here tried to do some counter sniper fire, but failed to punch a wound through to my sniper that's in the 3rd floor of that building right there. Then also pulled another chit to unpin these guys. They're in ambush. They're kind of like that last line of defense for that river right there. So that's what we're looking at here for the bottom of turn 3. We got top of turn 4. I got my reserves coming in this turn. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 4 for the Canadians. So we are back for the top of turn 4. Second wave came in. I ended up rolling 12 for my orders. I ended up bringing a lot of guys in from reserve. So I ended up bringing on, I think it was 4 rifle teams. So this one, this rifle team, I brought in the Vickers, I brought in that rifle team, I brought in a 2-inch mortar, and I brought in that rifle team, as well as the M10 Achilles. They all came in from reserve off the back table edge. With my other orders, I pushed up that other rifle squad a little bit closer over here. With this rifle squad that was previously up there, I moved them up 5, then opted to hold his ambush. I had 1 shot to try to pin. I ended up rolling a 4 what I needed, ended up making his cover save, so those guys are okay. Like I said, I held off the engineers for just a little bit longer. It's just not it's not the safest thing to go out there and try to build that bridge on that river just now with Vin sitting there in ambush. What I ended up getting also was a mortar roll. I dropped it here, ended up scattering to this point here with the mortar. I ended up getting a direct hit and a pin. They both went on the sniper. I ended up killing the sniper. Vin ended up failing like 2 of his saves on that direct hit fire, so the sniper ended up getting taken out. But it's no chit because it's just the sniper. But like I said, that building is clear. The only thing left holding the river right now is this 1 rifle team in ambush. Anything else that happened? I'm trying to think. Nothing else. Yeah, the 6-pounder I couldn't do anything with. I ended up pulling a chit to unpin my commander, and I pulled air attack. I swear I'm not cheating. These are just these are just the chits that are coming up right now. So yeah, so I have air attack possibly coming in next turn, and that's all that happened here for the Canadians. Like I said, we're making our push to the bridge. Hopefully, we can kind of get things working a little bit more aggressively going in before Vin starts getting a bunch of reserves in. So we'll be back in a flash for the bottom of turn 4. Vin has a D6 roll for his reserves. We'll be back in a flash. So we are back for the bottom of turn 4 for the Volksgrenadiers. This turn, Vin ended up getting a 4 for his reserves and a 12 for his orders. So Vin ended up bringing on the supply truck because he had to park it next to this this 105 here and get them back in the fight, resupply them because they were on low ammo. Vin ended up bringing in the flak on the truck, pushed them up over here, support fire, I guess, for the middle of the town over there. He also brought in a rifle squad to help support the middle of the table, and then Vin ended up pushing up his Panzer to right here along the backside of those buildings. The command team and rifle team that were previously right there, Vin pulled back the rifle team to those hedges, and then the command team got tucked in back over here. Vin really didn't have any shots or anything to do, like I said, because most of his artillery has been incapacitated at this point, and then everything else is kind of just getting positioned for that second wave to come in. So we'll be back in a second for top of turn 5 for the Canadians. See if we can get this assault roll, and we'll be back in a flash. We are back for the top of turn 5. For this turn, I didn't have that good of luck with the dice. I only ended up getting, I think it was 8 orders with my roll. Like I said, I have 3 units left on the back table over there that have to come in from reserve still. So what I ended up doing was I put my 6-pounder down here. I ended up putting him in ambush. The rifle team that I brought in last turn, I started to push them up the field to kind of get some support up here for maybe like a nice like turn or two for these guys. The sniper, I pulled out of that building and pushed him down to here so I can take that objective and had to pull a chit for that. Back over here with the rifle and machine gun teams, I was able to fire some machine gun fire down. I was able to kill one guy and pin that rifle team back on the table edge, which allowed me to take my engineers and push them up against the river. So I'll start building like a bridge going across that river. We said it was going to take 2 turns to do it. Two turns for one engineer team to cross the Rhine, but you know, just go with it. And then back over here, I pushed up another one of the rifle teams that was along that back ridge there to kind of get up and support these guys up here. Hopefully by the time that bridge is built, I'll have enough rifle teams up there to kind of do some stuff. And then with my commander back here, I attempted to drop an artillery bombardment with those 25-pounders, but I failed my comms test. That's all that happened here for the top of turn 5. We're kind of getting into position here to cross the Rhine. So we'll be back in a flash. Bottom turn 5, Volksgrenadiers. So we are back for bottom of turn 5. For this turn, things went okay at the start turn for Vin. So Vin ended up getting the rest of his reserves on. He ended up rolling, I think, a 10 for his orders or something. What was it, 10 for your orders? So Vin brought on the supply truck. He resupplied last turn. Then he ended up resupplying these guys this turn. They ended up dropping a bombardment down here. That went to that point there. It was enough to get 1 direct hit. I ended up passing my pinning check, so they were unpinned, but I did take 2 casualties to those guys right there. Vin also had the Panzer around here, pushed them around over here. I had these guys, let me take that token off. I had that 6-pounder in ambush. He's able to look down. Like I said, there's only 1 row of hedges, so I was able to get an obscured shot. I ended up firing 1 time to pin him. I rolled a 6, pinned him. I gave Vin the 6-up cover save. He ended up not getting it, so that Panzer ended up getting pinned, and then I failed my direct fire to damage him with side armor. So that ended up happening there, and that's kind of all that Vin did over here. He kind of just held everybody back, not really doing much. So back in a second for top of turn 6. Things are looking pretty good as far as getting to that river, so we'll see what happens. We'll be back in a flash. Top of turn 6 for the Canadians. So we are back for the top of turn. This is 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's top of turn 6. In this turn, I ended up only rolling 8 orders. I did a lot of pushing up with my infantry. So I pushed up with these guys to that fence line there. This rifle squad, I pushed up to the edge of the woods over here. Over there with the engineers, I was able to build halfway across for my bridge right there. The 2 rifle teams over here, I pushed up with the M10 Achilles. I just took a shot. I had 2 shots down there. I ended up needing 6s for the AP to punch this turn. I was able to observe twice, but I wasn't able to actually get the AP on target for this turn. Forgot to mention as well, this building here, Vin had the detonation for the building, and that ended up blowing up. I think it was on your turn. I didn't touch on that. What I ended up doing as well, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, and my last 2 orders for this turn, after I pushed everybody up, like I said, into the woods with those rifle teams, I had my commander down here try to range in on the edge of the hill. It ended up getting a wild scatter, but I rolled 3 2s and a 1, and it only scattered to over here, which still had these 2 guys in range. I was only able to fire 1 of the 25-pounders instead of 2 because I only had 2 orders left at this point, but it was enough to pin and peel one of the wounds off of this truck right here. So things went pretty well for that. And that's all we're looking at right now for top of turn 6. We'll be back in a second for bottom 6 for the Volksgrenadiers. Be back in a flash. So we are back for the bottom of turn 6. For this turn, Vin ended up getting 11 orders in. What he ended up doing for this one was, I guess the only thing that really mattered here was, well, I guess he did drop a bombardment. He put it over here. It scattered 7 inches down there. It was enough to kill the sniper. It was for a pin test. I ended up rolling a 1 on my cover save. So that was the end of it. I only had 1 sniper left because I lost the spotter before. And then over here I passed my cover save with the M10. I ended up passing that. So that was Vince's first bunch of orders. His next one was the big gamble. So Vin ended up doing the tactical coordination with his 1IC over here. So by doing that, he pulled the chit to try to unpin these guys. Vin ended up pulling the chit with a 1 on it, and that was enough to break him. His thought process was it was a gamble, hoping to get like low ammo or something like that, get this Panzer back in the fight, and kind of lock down this river over here. But Vin pulled out a number, and it wasn't good enough. So the Volksgrenadier artillery division that Vin had set up over here is now breaking back out of Reese, and the Canadians are going to cross the bridge and take it over. So it's going to be a Canadian victory. Bottom turn 6. We'll be back in a second for the end of game recap to go over all the madness that ensued for this battle. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for the end of game recap for the battle at the Bridge of Reese. Like I said, pretty good game, even though it was only 6 turns. It was mostly madness, this game, as far as like the way the dice fell and then kind of just how things worked out. It was with the chip pulls, it was nuts. I'll go over my plan of attack first, and then I'll let Vin take it from there, and then we'll kind of go into how the game played out. So my original thought was, on this side of the table, I had the hotel. I know Vin had demos and booby traps, and he had the minefield set up down there. So I knew this was going to be risky business in the middle of the table, but it was such a good piece of cover, as well as being bordered by the forest over there with the hill up top and the bridge there. Just this side of the table was much easier to push up with the infantry and get them close to that river, opposed to pushing up over here and working over that hillside. There's just so much open ground over here. So I figured I'd put the brunt of my attack over there. And then the rest of the plan was obviously to get my forward HQ, 25 pounders, mortars, and to really pepper down every turn and just keep dropping bombardments here and just hope the scatters worked out my way and try to get the side of the table pinned so I was able to get those engineers up and start building that bridge, which they did. I mean, it happened kind of around when I thought it was. I thought it was going to be between turns 4 and 6 of able to get up there and actually start building the bridge with some rifle and machine gun support. So that kind of went according to plan. What I wasn't really banking on that totally panned out was the amount of damage those mortars and 25 pounders did, as far as just plucking units out, keeping guys pinned, just wounding platoons and rifle squads that were over here. They did really, really well. Artillery in this game was, I think, a huge factor for both sides. I think if the game would have played out a little bit longer, like I said, Vin only had a 21 battle rating for this list against my Canadian list. And like I said, these games aren't balanced. This is a campaign, so it's kind of just whatever you get matched up with on that battle map is what you have to fight. So I think, like I said, doubling his, because you had what, 21 battle rating? Yeah. And I had a 42 with the Canadians because it's the 2 infantry platoons. So this list was twice as sturdy as Vin, so I figured I could play aggressive with some of my guys, pull some chits to get people unpinned, and just kind of keep the whole wall infantry moving across the table. And it worked out pretty good. I think this game would have went a little bit later. I think on this side of the table, the infantry, the M10, the way the artillery was coming in, I think I would have been able to overwhelm that side of the table. But I think as far as taking the high ground hill over here, and then Vin with that flak MG, if you've been able to pop them out, if, like I said, if the chits would have pulled a little bit different, this side of the table would have been a much tougher nut to crack as things unfolded. But I don't know, Vin, what were you thinking as far as your defensive plan, like where you wanted to funnel me? Like I said, you only had the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was a pretty good setup for your defense as far as the table went. Like I said, you only had one point of access. The rest of the river was completely inaccessible until I built that bridge with those engineers. So I don't know, what were you thinking as far as your setup for, the booby traps and everything else that you had to go with it?
Well, the booby trap worked out perfect. I actually purposely set this up here to stop you from getting into this building.
Oh yeah, the
filtering
front.
you into the booby trap one.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I knew your sniper was going to go there, that's why.
Yeah, it was almost a no-brainer. I had a feeling you were going to have something in there, so I was like, I just got to try it. I mean, it's only the sniper. I wouldn't lose a chit for it, but the sniper I really wanted to have in that building, and it was worth the risk. But yeah.
And the reason I wanted to get the sniper was because I had these 3 over there, so I really wanted to take the sniper and kind of take them out of the equation for the whole pinning.
Yeah.
Side of it. So I was just like, okay, let's try to get that done.
Yeah, it was a smart play setting that up over there with the way you had the defensive trench line over there.
So I had my machine gun here to watch this, and my 2 other guys to watch the funnel, which was also making me hope that you would go back through that with your other units and hide in here.
Get into that, yeah.
That was the thought process for that.
Well, there's only one window in there on that back side. Now, I actually contemplated putting my sniper in there to shoot through there, and I was like, you know what?
That's going to be bad news sooner.
Well, I didn't think it was bad. I was like, I'm going to push him to here because I can get a little bit better range of sight as opposed to just going to that window and only having that 90-degree angle. I figured it'd be better to kind of push it over there because I get a better view going down the table. And he died anyway from mortar fire, so I guess it wasn't that big of a trade-off. But I don't know, what else do you think for the rest of your stuff?
That losing the Pack 40, that hurt so bad.
Oh yeah,
that was
that random scatter was
devastating because that was my answer for your tank.
Yeah, 15 inches just dropping right in their lap was huge. Yeah, that was pretty big.
Because this guy, I was gonna have him helping the bunker and kind of at a different both angles. And obviously, I'm sure everybody notices this just from watching. Losing both my artillery pieces in turn 2. Like this entire
list was so awesome.
It was entirely built off of those two.
Yeah, Vin put this list together as a purely defensive list to guard this specific spot on the campaign map and have heavy artillery because he knew the bridge, just the bombardments, the machine guns, it was going to be really tough for armor to kind of punch through and infantry with the amount of MG fire. This list was really built for that, and then that turn 2, man, I pulled ammo low, and then the off-table artillery ammo, and I rolled great on both of the tables, and it just neutered Vin's back end on this list. It was huge, man. That was a turning point in the game.
They were destroying things people
those 2 turns. Yeah, you had seven kills, pinned I think like 3 or 4 units. Like they were really putting in work, and then I think I pulled a 2. And then I pulled a 2 for the 1 shits that I had to pull. I pulled a 2. I pulled 2 ammo lows for Vin for the artillery, and then I pulled an air support that I failed my 5-up roll on. So yeah, my chip pulls for this game and the last game I had against Scott,
gold.
Only 2 out of 8 were against my morale. Everything else was the other 6 were against my opponent. It's going to turn south sooner or later.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there glue behind them?
Yeah,
that's the one.
I got them all marked. But I think like I said, this game, it was a fun game because the amount of craziness, but it was one of those things. It was an uphill battle also because we're doing the Fall of the Reich book and Vin's playing Germany, so it's a little bit tougher for him. And then when you got the chits coming out of the bag like that, like the way they were for me early on, it made it a tough one. And like I said, and plus this list, half the battle rating really meant for the defensive end, and just the chits is what the random chaos of the chits is what I think did them in this game.
And I still have my 2 big armies waiting to.
Yeah, you got your SS,
my SS, and then my King Tiger with
your Panzer Company. So yeah, that's what we're looking at right now. So the Canadians, they won the day. For the Allies, I'll be able to choose my fate one more time on the campaign map, and then after 3 turns in a row, or 3 victories in a row, however you want to word it, for one side, you automatically give control over to the other side. So we'll have one more game where I get to pick how it goes on the campaign map. Like I said, the Canadians now control the river crossing going across the Rhine and the town of Reese, which on the campaign map kind of gives us the back door open going down to Wessel. Zenton is still going to be highly contested, but we might be able to push and get around the back of the German line at this point. For campaign points, I ended up getting a victory, and I pulled the bridge objective. I ended up holding that at the end of the game, so that gives me 125 campaign points, which is enough for me to replace my losses. Vin walked away with 50. He lost his off-table artillery, so Vin might have to wait one more game until he has enough of points to buy them back into the list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, we're having a lot of fun doing the campaign. It adds a little bit extra to the games instead of just doing like a regular pickup. There's a little more thought process into it. And we're kind of enjoying that. So like I said, leave some comments, like or subscribe, all that jazz. You guys know the routine. Let us know what you guys think, and we'll catch you guys again next week for another battle report. So catch you guys later.